Hello and welcome to another episode of No Load Time. My name is Obed Velez, and with me, the most interesting man in the world, Joel Young.
What's good, no load time? Obed, we're ready for a great show today. How are you doing?
I am doing phenomenal, sir. I know that you are ready, sir.
Oh, I am so ready.
As you guys can see from the title, um, Joel's about to get canceled. So,
I am?
hey, you know
Me?
what? You?
Obed's like, I didn't watch
I
it.
didn't watch it. Hey, you know what?
You canceled it before I could
Wash
cancel
my hands
you.
like Pilot here. As I don't care. Um,
That's great.
I don't. Yeah, I will discuss with you further, sir, in a few minutes. But first of all, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. It's here we are now in the summertime, so again, good time to enjoy some good stuff here. I'm trying to take some time to game a little bit more. I gotta get in and play some Horizon Zero Dawn. Like that's one I've been
Catching
like, you
up.
know what, this is time to play some catch up. So
It's
I
a good
got it
game.
downloaded on the PS5. It's ready to go. So that's I know it's been out for a while, guys. Don't knock me for it,
Right,
but
right.
I'm finally getting time. Getting settled in here to get time to play it. So that's my hope that maybe next week I'll have some more updates on that. I mentioned to you beforehand. I asked if you got to see it. I know you haven't seen it yet, but I got to watch some of also My Adventures with Superman that is continuing on HBO Max as a season two of it. And I think that was the fourth episode I want to say they released because they released two the first week, and then subsequently it's been 3 weeks now, so they had two more. So they have four episodes. Um, that show is still really good. If you watch the first season, it was quite charming. Just refreshing to see a really nice take on Lois and Superman's relationship, which has been done multiple times in media. And without trying to compare or anything, you know how strongly I felt about the misrepresentation of them in Superman and Lois and CW. And so seeing something like this that is not trying to make the same thing but do something different, and you can see the inspiration. Obviously, it's more of an anime type style. So like as you know, there's some
I,
stylistic differences,
I
but
saw
still same characters.
I saw someone posted it out there on the internet. There was a Dragon Ball reference. Like I
Oh,
saw
I'm
I
sure.
saw the picture without context. It's like, is that a Dragon Ball reference? What's this from? It's like, oh, it's Superman. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No, they
so
they're
so
doing
it's fun.
stuff. They're doing stuff. It's
Yeah.
great. I mean, it's pretty on point. They had Lex Luthor in the last season. If you watch spoilers, which came out like over a year ago, so now you're starting to get into that stuff a little bit, and they're continuing to expand the lore. And in my opinion, I like it so much. I like that this show's self-contained, but I almost wish they could spin off a show from this that actually is kind of a more in this same style, like a Justice League type thing.
Okay.
Because what they're doing here, I just want more DC characters to be in this type of only way I can phrase it is style. The stories, there's a short length. It feels very like Saturday morning television, but like highly created and with quality and just overall good time. But
Cool.
that's my rant on that. I won't talk about too much more until I know you get to see it. Maybe we'll talk a little more spoilers. Plus, the season's still going on,
Right.
so more to come. We'll talk about then.
Cool. Awesome. I finished Final Fantasy. Finally. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Um, if I can sum up the game in a phrase, I it would be they don't make games like that anymore because it does feel like like a PS2 game. You buy it, you got a ton of content. It took me 96 hours to finish.
Yeah.
I have six side quests left and the end game area to finish. So it's probably gonna take me another 10 hours to wrap everything up. Um, it's great because you just again, it's one of those rare cases, Joe, like that and Elden Ring and that sort of game, right? Where you pay your $70 and there's no microtransactions, no DLC. you just play, man, and it's so good. And this game is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Like again, it just takes remake and elevates it, right? But then instead of answering questions that arose from remake, now you have even more questions. With
Wow.
and that's great because now it's like I gotta have to wait 3 4 years again for the next one. So yeah, very very good. The ending was tough. I don't know. I don't think I was under leveled. I think I was like level 50, level 49, something like that. And I still had I tried that final boss for like an hour and a half maybe, until I, kind of like came up with a little bit of a strategy that kind of sort of paid off. I think I got lucky to where when it gets to the last phase of the boss fight, I had enough health and ATB that could get me around, but because it's like, yeah, if you didn't beat him by now, then you're done because he's gonna get you. So yeah, no, very good, very good. Highly recommend it. Right. Again, uh, very faithful to what the original release of Final Fantasy VII was back in PS1. Right. A lot of it evokes that same, I guess, the same emotions, right? But now heightened because you now have like facial expressions and voice acting and all this stuff that you couldn't get back then. So so it just takes that game and elevates it, and it's phenomenal. So like as remakes go, right? Again, the Resident Evil remakes are phenomenal. Like two, more, specifically 2 and 4, incredible, incredible games.
Right.
And then what they're doing with this game, again, you know, it's nothing short of miraculous. So, really, really good stuff. I'm very, very much looking forward to the next one, to the last part, which I heard that they're not gonna make a DLC for next year for or an expansion for this game, and they're just gonna concentrate on just fast tracking part 3. So because they want to get it out as soon as possible. So who knows? Maybe the wait is not gonna be that long. But remake came out in 2020. This game was made during lockdown, basically, like half of this game.
Wow.
So now you're gonna be able to work uh on the third game while you're everyone's fully available. So they're to the point like a few weeks ago. This was like 3 weeks ago. They said developers said that they're already ready to start recording the voice acting soon. So that's a great sign. But yeah, phenomenal game, man. Highly recommended. I'm gonna play. I'm gonna let it rest a little bit before I jump back in. I may jump back in next week, and I'm gonna see if I can play some Hi-Fi Rush this weekend, and really see what's that all about. Because it's like I said, I played about an hour of it, and it was very good, very very good. So very curious, and looking forward to checking that out. And then in about a week and a half, we get Elden Ring expansion. That's gonna be like
Yeah.
it's gonna consume the rest of my summer more than likely. So we'll see. All right, Joe. I guess the moment that everyone's been waiting for.
Ooh.
You had the opportunity to watch the third episode of The Acolyte. I am not going to use Star Wars at the beginning of the name. So yeah, tell us about episode 3 of The Acolyte. Just to put it out there, Joel. Again, I have not watched it. I have no intention of watching it. I have no intention of clicking on it on my app. I did watch the musical number because
It's
because
everywhere.
it
Come
was
on.
out there. Um, and before you start, right? And this is me coming out as an old school Star Wars fan. I know whatever, right? I don't want to get grouped with the guys over here or the guys over here. Objectively, right? Based on that scene alone and some of the stuff that they're trying to come up with, yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. Again, I don't have to watch It's gotten to the point where not all of Star Wars is for me. Like, like I realized with Marvel a couple years ago. Like not everything in Marvel is for me. This show's not for me. I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna even hate watch it. Like some people are like, oh, I'm just gonna watch it so I can review it. I was like, I don't even have. I don't. I don't have. I guess the patience to do that. And it's like it's. Yeah, I'll just let it be. It's its own thing, right? Whatever, and and let it fly. But Joel, I really do want to hear what you have to say.
Um, you got to hear a little bit of a preview of my feelings beforehand because I have very, very strong emotions about this episode in particular, as do many Star Wars fans across the galaxy have had a strong reaction to this
It
episode.
was a disturbance in the force.
There was a disturbance
In
in
the
the
threat.
force.
Oh,
Oh man. I I I took my time to really try and calibrate how I felt about this to make sure that I said everything in an appropriate way, like how you started off with the show. I don't want to be grouped in with a certain sector of people, but I understand that just by what I'm going to be saying, or just by people putting as like almost like pick a side type of attitude, that there are going to be some people who are going to be like, well, of course he feels that way, and then just push it aside to a certain section of voices. I want to be clear, these thoughts are truly my own. But I think it's amazing when there's a common theme across people who love this intellectual property and have known about it for a long time, that there are certain things that are being echoed across the galaxy as well. There's clearly something wrong here. Um,
and again,
yeah, so
again, us like we're level headed, we're objective.
yes.
Everyone's
Yeah.
entitled to their opinion. If you hated it, you hated it. If you liked it,
Yeah.
sure, sure.
I,
I'm
I'm
sure that people like trash, right?
yeah.
If you're a TV panda and this you like this, it's fine, right? Or it's not a panda. I'm sorry, a TV raccoon, and you like to dig through, and still find something good about it. That's awesome, right? Um, but at the same time, right? I think that objectively speaking, right, we were objective with She-Hulk, right? When it was good, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
When it was trash,
Yep.
it was trash. And
Yep.
based on what you said, this is the moment that
This is the
everything
She-Hulk
turns.
moment. This is the She-Hulk moment right here where you have your first episode that's like not earth-shattering, but it was good. You're like, okay, I can get behind this and maybe this will ramp up. And then out of nowhere, the car doesn't stop. The car starts going down the cliff. That's what happens here. But, as you and I are in a similar place, we are very, very passionate about Star Wars. So this is something that like is like numero uno fandom side. Like this is something that is just very special to us. Um, this episode is the episode that shows me clearly through and through these people do not have a care. I'm not saying that they don't know, they just don't care about the property. I think there's a problem that some people have been criticized as saying that they don't know Star Wars. I'm not going to say that. I can't say what's in the back of somebody's mind to say someone does or doesn't know something, but they're showing me that they don't care because they want. When I say they, I'm talking about the specific creators involved here. There's a showrunner. We all can easily attack her right away, right? But there were writers involved. There were there's Kathleen Kennedy, the president of the studio involved. There are people on other parts of Disney that are involved in this. There's not just one person. One person has a very strong voice in this. However, there are multiple voices. So I want to be careful about that, about how I say that. But when I say they, that's what I'm generally considering. I'm not trying to say
Right.
they and you're like, oh, you're talking about,
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
a political group. Or, I'm
Right,
not
right, right,
doing
right.
that. Okay.
Or
Um,
like a worst kept secret kind of group.
Right, right, right. Yeah, right,
It's
exactly. I'm
so
not
dumb.
doing that.
You are
Okay.
so
When I
dumb.
say they or those people, that's what I
Right,
mean. I want to clarify that,
right.
be very careful. And but there is not a care for it because All right, we're gonna talk spoilers, guys. That's it.
I don't care.
Gloves
Yeah, I don't
off.
care.
We're talking
Yeah.
about. If you've not seen episode 3, or if you're planning on seeing it, whatever. But here we go. The whole gist of this is that that there are twins. This is we learned in the earlier episodes how there are these twins, Osha and May. Osha being the one who was accused of murdering a Jedi, May being the one who actually did it, May being the one who's trying to follow in steps of and becoming an acolyte and following the acolyte, who has not been identified as a Sith, but more so saying, I am, someone who's basically, trying to upend and stop the High Republic essentially and force a new change in the world. Very Okay, I'm not gonna say that. Okay, let me careful when I say this. I really don't want to get grouped into something, but so Osha and May, we get a flashback to where they came from of understanding there was a conversation around how Master Soul was the one who took in Osha, raised Osha, and as he refers to as, we saved her life, right? So why would it be like Carrie-Anne Moss's Jedi? Like, why would she want her to be dead? Or obviously it didn't make sense. And why would May want this? And so they're trying to give you a backstory around the murder and the upbringing of these characters. Interesting. Um, they go to this place called Brandok. There's this essentially place where there's a secret coven of witches that are living in this place that are outcasts of all around the galaxy. This isn't like one specific, culture of people. You see different alien races, different types of women that are all a different coven, all living in this place because they probably, outcasts of their own towns. And what's the main kicker out of all of this is that these are the ones who are not just raising Osha and May, but that they actually created Osha and May. And that's where a lot of people are having their issues with it. And that's where I have my issues with this because who are these witches to begin with? We've never heard of these people before, never seen these people before. There's a lot of things in Star Wars secrets that you find out later on that's like, no, they've existed for a long time, and there's ways to weave it into the story, and into the story in a way that it kind of makes sense. But this is something that's so specific that there's no way that these strong, powerful in the Force wielding type characters were able to hide for so long. But the only reason why the Jedi show up at the doorstep of these coven is because there's children and they want to recruit them, and they're not supposed to be teaching them the Force, anyone but the Jedi, because that's supposedly the rules. But they want to take these children and bring them back to Coruscant to be trained in the ways of the Force in a proper way. That is absolute nonsense. How the heck are you going to tell me that the Jedi had no problem with these people practicing dark force magic stuff, but because there's children is the only reason why that they showed up at this doorstep of these people for all this time? They've been practicing this thing referred to as an ascension that they're talking about, which is where they raise them up to be a certain type of witches, and that these witches have this, oh my gosh, dude, they have this whole rant that is so dumb because they literally, it's hypocritical about how there are some people who think that you can manipulate the Force and use the Force, but the Force cannot be wielded. Continues to go on, but we understand the Force is weaved through everything. And if you just wanted, we can just bend the Force to our will. So you can't wield the Force, but you can bend it? What are you talking about? Dude, I was so mad when I'm watching this because I'm saying, so you just told me 2 seconds ago, like basically trying to trash talk on the Jedi about saying like, oh, that they're doing something that's absolutely nonsense. We know higher, we know better than them on how the Force actually works. To then basically say you're doing the same thing. You're just trying to manipulate the Force to go one way or the other, which is exactly what the Sith teach. It's not usually a witch thing. It's not a Jedi thing. That's a Sith way of thinking, right? And so the fact that they're able to actually create life, okay, without anyone else knowing, Darth Sidious couldn't do it. The Kaminoans couldn't do it. Plagueis couldn't do it. The Night Sisters couldn't do it. The Witches of Dathomir couldn't do it. But these little Coven people, they make the moon and the sun come together in the middle of the night, and boom, perfect twins pop out with using the Force like nothing. Not even like it was hard. I cannot buy into this at all.
Oh well, sorry. Let me retract Plagueis, because Plagueis is the one, like when Palpatine says something like to wield the Force or to be able to use the Force in such manner is it's a feat that only one has been able to achieve. So Plagueis was the
Exactly.
one. Plagueis was the one that was able to manipulate the Force in such a way that he could create life. Right.
Right, 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 right,
So
right. That's
let me.
exactly what we
I'm going to
learned.
retract that. Right. But no, no, no. To your point. Right. Um. Yeah, man. Like, why? I don't know.
So, so what they do here is they undermine, and everyone's saying the same thing because it's absolutely true. It all popped into all of our minds. Well, this is not the first time this has happened in Star Wars because we understand Anakin. What's
Right.
the
Right.
question that's asked?
Right.
Who was the father? There was none. Are you telling me that these secret witches made Anakin? I don't think so, because that's not how the legends tells us. It's legends, but regardless, um, the point of what happens with Anakin. There's a little history side for some people. Take you down memory lane. The whole point about Anakin is that he's the chosen one. It's a prophecy that's been spoken that there would be one that would come that would bring perfect balance to the Force.
Right.
So the Force actually created him as a response to bring balance. That's the whole reason why his life was even created. How that is and what that is never was divulged, and that's fine. We don't need to have all those details
Right.
necessarily.
Right.
That's what keeps it mysterious and interesting and ominous and more symbolic in its own way. And if they ever did want to go into it, they could, but it's fine. Um, that's what they're doing. That's what they did with this, where they're basically saying, forget about this whole thing about Anakin being able to be generated by the Force as a reaction of the Force to bring balance, to bring this true righteous standing in the Force. But you now just have these two twins pop up easily by two force wielding people, really one force using wielding person, we understand, being the one who's saying, I created them in the scene. Um, Absolutely baffling. Absolutely baffled me. Obed, I am offended. You have seen me on this show for years. I keep my cool. I don't go off on the deep end. I try and take a nice perspective, stand back. Well, there's pros and there's cons and the good and the bad. There's plenty of things and shows and stuff that just don't align with me usually, but I'm able to take a step back and say, you know what? I understand what you're trying to go for. I can't do that here. I have to be objective and I have to say, you are fundamentally taking a poop on George Lucas's storylines that he set up as a lore. You can build upon the lore, but you can't break the foundation. That's what I think needs to be learned here. I don't mind you expanding Star Wars. Star Wars needs to be expanded. It's a vast universe. It needs to have new stories. There's a reason why it says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That's the Journal of the Wills, and there's a whole great storyline. We can get deep into that with Star Wars, right? But what we can't do in those moments is say, you know what, the very foundation, the very basis of what these things are built upon, the very principles of the Force that have been laid out before us over, I'm going to say 6 films. I'm not going to talk about the sequels necessarily, even though those, I don't know about you, but I would say those films necessarily don't even undermine the Force. They just have story problems, like that. Then my
Right.
personal opinion,
Right. Right. No. Yeah. Yeah.
narrative
I agree.
issues,
I
but they
agree.
don't undermine
I
it.
agree. Yeah.
So you could really say 9 films if you really want to get into that. But to talk about just from that basis of the episode, how it is so offensive to what's going on here, and then I'm going to go into a little more. So one of the other things that they do in this, spoilers again, folks, um, the Jedi are there to, obviously recruit the children to Coruscant. So the Jedi are essentially being put in a position as if they are some type of oppressors, some types of monks that are like this evil cult that's just stealing children for no reason. That is absolutely false. I understand that you could try to point of perspective of trying to say like, well, it's a little weird, you know, but it's
Right.
like trying to say Professor Xavier with the X-Men. Well, he's taking the gifted children and giving them a home. Yeah, because they're outcasts with everyone else. Not everyone has the abilities that these people have, and he's trying to give them a perfect home.
Right.
Not all people showed up to Charles Xavier's X Mansion. Well, the same kind of base that you have with Star Wars, where they're showing up and saying, "We are giving you this option to train in the ways to better the galaxy, to use your powers for good, and be set aside." It is sort of you could be set aside as a cult monk type thing, but really they were
Right.
keepers of in their own ways, right? And what I do appreciate, one of the few things I appreciate with this episode, is that they actually showcase how, Soul, when he approaches the twins, he's telling them, what do you want? Do you want to join the Jedi? Like, we are letting you choose and choose your path. Star Wars always been about making making a choice in that way, right? But how they do it is absolutely stupid. He pulls out his lightsaber and is like, "You want one of these?" It's like candy to them. You want one of these things? I'm, gosh, I'm a grown man. You put a lightsaber in front of me, and I'm gonna say, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm there. I'm
Sure.
going.
Yeah. Why
I'm
not?
sign me up tomorrow. You know what I mean? That's not the way the Jedi are supposed to do this.
Right.
Here's another kicker to it. Now that we're going to talk about lore and foundations, we were just roasting about. Um, so we know in the prequels, it's said that the reason why they did not want Anakin to be trained is there's two main reasons.
Yep.
The first one being his personal attachments, right? Which is ties into the second reason because of their age. Because you're traditionally the Jedi always take in children who are basically newly born, essentially infancy. So they haven't had, you know, 10 years or more, where they've had a connection to a family member, a culture, a people, what have you. It's not that they don't know them or that they're never around, but they don't form an attachment the way we were any human being would be raised from by any person who is their who's their guardian. They would have an attachment of some kind, positive, negative, whatever, but they would have an attachment. And some situations it was negative, right? Like if someone has a negative attachment to something, well, they might act out of anger. If someone has a positive attachment to it, they might act out of fear. All those kinds of things. So it literally fundamentally is impossible for the Jedi to go with the intention of recruiting these two sisters at the age that they're at, that's clearly around Anakin's age, and that literally they have had a strong attachment where they've never seen more of the galaxy. That's one of the things that Osha says when her reasoning of why she wants to join the Jedi is she says, hey, like, I want to see what's out there beyond this. I want to know other people. And they even say, we've never seen any other kids. And when that's one of the things that Soul says is like, there's other kids like, and she's like, children? There's other kids like me? It's the most bizarre thing because again, that just undermines everything that we know beforehand from here. You can expand the lore, you can try to introduce new things into the lore, but you cannot break its foundation. That is why I'm offended, Obed.
Okay. I don't have anything to say.
I'm not.
Again, I told you before, and I'll stand by it. I'm not gonna watch this, and if I stumble upon a clip like what happened, right? I watched the musical scene because I think I stumbled upon it on Threads or something. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna watch this, and I cringed, and then I had to like leave my phone for a second and go get some coffee and come back and kind of like walk it off almost.
That's one scene,
right?
and you felt that
and that's
way.
one scene, right?
I wanted to hide in a shell when I was watching this. The people, when I saw this, the people around me asked, they said, if you would have, because they knew I saw in theaters, right, the first two episodes, said,
Right.
man, glad they didn't play this in theaters. Said if they would have played this in the theater, I would have walked out. That's how offended I was.
Wow.
I would have walked the hell. I was
That's
I started
crazy,
fast
dude.
forwarding, Obed. I was like, I can't get me through this. I am so fed up with this. I don't know if I can continue.
Like
I don't know. I
feels
might, but I don't know, man.
so. What really bugs me, right, is that putting aside like I mean, Obi-Wan had problems, right? But it wasn't offensive, right? Andor is probably the best thing that they've done since Rogue One. Um, even with all the problems that the sequels had after Force Awakens, I think Force Awakens was fine. But you know, even putting that into perspective, and Solo, and Boba Fett, like everything, right? Even putting everything together, like it's still right. There's some things that aggravate me, but nothing like really pushing me away, right? And again, nothing's gonna change my love for uh, the original trilogy and the prequels, because you know it is what it is, right? It's like you like stop liking, I don't know, it's like you stop liking the first Fast and the Furious because of like the last one, right?
Right, 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 right.
So, and that's probably the best example, because that's a long running franchise with multiple sequels or whatever, right? Um, but it would be kind of like that. Um, it seems, and I'm not saying I'm done with Star Wars and Star Wars dead. Like, I'm not saying that, right?
Yep,
Me
I'm
as a
not
Star
there
Wars
either.
fan, a hardcore old school Star Wars fan, to me, it's not dead, and I'm not done with Star Wars, right? It's just that this specific product is not for me, and I am not going to watch it, right? Um, it seems to me, right, that, and this goes back to what caused me to not watch this show, which is the comments by the showrunner. It seems like this show was done. Um, it was purposefully malicious towards the fan base, and I've seen people defend it out there, right? I I don't know, after that musical sequence, like that musical sequence, just by itself, it's indefensible, right? And then you have all the lore problems and all the, you know, everything else on top of it, right? I don't want to be that kind of YouTuber. This is not like, just like I watched the first episode of Miss Marvel. It is that show's not for me, man. I'll watch. I still watch Marvel stuff, but not. I don't have to watch everything, right? And
Yeah,
it's gotten to the point, the point in Star Wars, which is unfortunate, because Star Wars again is my number one favorite thing ever. But it's unfortunate that we're getting to the point where I gotta skip Star Wars stuff because it's just not for me.
hurts. That hurts.
It does, it
That
does.
hurts.
And you know what? I'm a grown man. I'm not gonna be
Yeah,
on the internet crying about it, and I just move on, right? Like, I'm not gonna watch it, and that's it, right? I don't have
yeah.
to make a video every day just trying to explain myself why this show is terrible and all that. I just don't watch it, right? I'll let you take the brunt of
Well,
at least
and
for
I
now. At least for
right,
now. I
at
don't
least
know
for
how much is,
now.
yeah.
I don't know.
Uh,
I don't know. I am literally if this was sports, they would say
like
he's questionable right now,
like
his status,
like a,
because I don't know if I can take anymore. And I want to
wow.
echo the same things you were saying about how, like, I don't think Star Wars isn't done. Okay. I just went on a rant about being angry about stuff. The people who are saying that stuff, I I have to have a personal conversation with each one on an individual basis. But I think most people can say there actually has been some of Disney Star Wars that they have liked, where that's an episode, a season, a full series, what
Yeah,
have you. There are many people who would say the Luke Skywalker Mandalorian scene, season two,
right.
is amazing. There are some people who thought that was one of the best things that happened to Star Wars in years. Andor, some people say is just as a whole entire series just great television. Forget Star Wars, it's just great
Oh, yeah, yeah.
television,
Yeah, totally.
right?
Yeah.
There's some people might say the last season of Clone Wars, those last four episodes or whatever, was just brilliant, right? Um, like there's specific things like that we can grab at and say, I really like this. So when people start saying, well, Disney Star Wars is really bad and they've just ruined it all.
and they just keep
No,
ruining it. Yeah,
and then I'm over here like, but did you like Andor? Yes, I did. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like you, you hear, but it's different, Joel. That's not the same. No,
it is. It
it
is.
is the same. You
It
can't.
is.
It's
The same
all
person that
synthetic.
greenlit Andor
Right.
greenlit this thing, right?
Greenlit
It's the
this thing.
same, right?
It's the same people
We
involved.
can't be disingenuous about it.
That's just that makes you sound like really, really not low IQ. Like if anyone's saying that, you just sound very low IQ. I'm not gonna start calling you names, but
Oh man.
that it's not looking good.
So, yeah, but what bugs me is that the maliciousness behind it, right? Because it's like they've been antagonizing fans for the longest time with like interviews
Yeah.
and snippets and oh, she said this thing, she said this other thing, this actor said this thing, they interviewed this actor and I was like, oh, he said the wrong thing during the interview. Like they've been like, it's I think that bothers me more than just the show being bad. Is
Yeah.
that they've kept um they kept like antagonizing, for lack of a better word, the fans with all this stuff, and it seems malicious, right? It seems like, oh, this is completely designed to, excuse my language, just to piss off the fan base, and kind of like weed out the fan. It's like, okay, what kind of company or Disney? What are you doing? What kind of company starts weeding out their fan base just because they want that product to be targeted to a specific group of people, right? Isn't it the whole idea of making money to like broaden the fan base, right? You don't have to piss off the old school fans to bring new fans in. Final Fantasy VII Remake, again, talk about it.
Yeah.
Not only us old school fans of Final Fantasy VII will come back, it has the appeal to bring, keep that fan base and bring new players in. Street Fighter, same thing, right? We see it in video games where video games understand this, right? And for some reason, not only Lucasfilm, but Marvel and Pixar and other Disney parks, it just they're adamant in weeding out fan base. It's like in the long run, that's gonna cost you money. That's fine, right? Why not bring everyone together? Why not make a good cohesive story that both old school fans and new fans will enjoy? No, let's weed out the old school fans because they have a ton of money, but we don't want them. We want the younger people, the hipster people. Whatever, dude. Like this is
And now but now they're doing exactly what you and I suspected would happen. Now they're going to damage control, and now they're start to name calling and saying, well, anyone who doesn't like this is a part of this.
right.
You're obviously this, that, and the other.
It's
You're this.
bad, dude. If
If
it's
it's
bad, I
bad,
don't
it's
have to
bad.
like it.
Right. That's the
Right.
point. So that's already starting. We had a feeling that would happen. The other thing that's happening too is I just saw this earlier before we got on the show. Basically a snippet from another, and just probably again damage control. That Leslie Helen had an interview talking about this specific episode gave some quotes to another media site. I can't remember which one. Might have been Entertainment Weekly. I can't remember which one, but a bigger one. And basically, it was like, yeah, Dave Filoni was actually the one that gave me this idea about having these coven of witches, and he said, not all witches have to be the witches of Dathomir. So like trying to project the issues of this episode on it. Because Dave approved this. This has to be good. It is such a dangerous sentiment because now it's
Right.
becoming everyone else's fault,
Right.
but looking internally.
It's the
I
fans'
would
fault.
respect it
It's the
more.
person that greenlit. It's like
100%.
it's the actor. Like it's gonna go down. And I warned you guys about this. I
You did.
warned you guys. I told you guys, and it's like I don't know if I'm gonna watch this. And then the headline interviews started coming out, and I told you guys on the show I'm not gonna watch it. It's like again, I'm not even gonna hate watches. I'm not watching it. This product is not for me.
Which
They
is
did
how I
not
feel
make-
right now about Agatha. Like this Agatha, I think of Harkness. It's not the same,
Right.
but I just don't have interest in it. So I'm
Right.
like, I'm not gonna watch it. And then if it is bad, then I'm
Right.
like, well, I don't want. If it's good, then maybe I will, tune
Right.
into it.
'Cause
But I know I
again,
don't want to be angry. Is my point. I don't want to
we're-
watch it off of anger.
And even I said, it's like, Joel, you told me how it is. If it's good, I'll watch it.
Exactly.
And
And I would have told you,
I'm-
but you got to see this.
right. Yeah. It would have been, I would, what? Yeah, no, I'm not going to even bother. Right.
Don't. Yeah, don't
Again,
do it.
it's unfortunate. And what gets me is how bad they're treating the fans, dude. And it's like, oh, fans don't like it. Oh, it's your fault for not liking it because you're, this and this and that. I was like, no, man, it's just bad. It's like, if you can you imagine it's like you go to a restaurant, right, and you order a steak. It's like I want a steak. I want the steak cooked this way, right? Because I love steak. I'm a fan of steak, right?
Right.
And you get the steak back. It's both like overcooked and cold at the same time. Like
Yeah.
they overcooked it and they left it there for a long time and it got cold. And you goes like, hey, this steak is like not good. And they was like, oh well, it's your fault for not liking the steak because we cooked it. I was like,
Right.
but I
And now
I
because
like
of who the
steak.
chef.
I like steak, but can you cook it in a way that I can consume it? It's like,
And now
well,
it's like, oh, you must hate the chef.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And the chef has this background, so anything of this background you don't like or whatever. I don't care who cooked the meal. I just want a good meal.
or
you know what I mean?
you're blaming me because I'm from a different gender or whatever.
Right,
Like,
right.
it
Whatever
doesn't
you start throwing, you're like, I just want a good
no.
steak.
Exactly. I
That's
just
what it
want a
comes
steak.
down-
I'm like, even if it's overcooked, if it's hot, I'll eat it. That's fine.
Right. I just want it to taste good.
Exactly. Right. And that's
can't consume this.
And that's the problem. I can't consume it. It's not for me.
Yeah.
Right.
What a great analogy.
And I'm not gonna, and I'm mad because of how they're treating fans. I'm not mad because the show's trash. It's not my fault. It's like I don't care, right?
Yeah, you go on with life.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm a grown ass man. I don't have to
100%.
worry about this, right? I have more important things to worry about. But it's just that not every time that something Star Wars comes out, oh, the fans hate it. Bro, we didn't hate Andor. Andor was great.
Right.
We didn't hate Rogue One. Rogue One was great. Like even Mando had its problems, and we still like it, right? Boba Fett was not good. Mando showed up. Yeah, Mando saved the show. So like it is what it is. But they have to stop blaming the fans.
It's almost like they're watching at Lucasfilm HQ, like some of the people involved, like, look at these Star Wars fans having meltdowns. Like almost
Right,
like it
right.
almost
He's
comes
malicious.
across like
It seems malicious,
like making
yeah.
fun of them, like, oh, you see this guy, he's having a grown man meltdown. Oh, this is so funny to us. It's like, who, like, are you on the dark side of the force going on? Like is the Sith running Lucasfilm right now?
My
Because that's
goodness,
what it
man.
feels like. Chaos and disorder and just like
Right.
wanting to see people angry. It's not
Exactly.
keepers
Yeah,
of
it's
the
like they
peace.
do it on purpose, and it gets me, man. And that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like it seems malicious, and whatever. It's like if again, I'm probably like Skeleton Crew. I'm probably want to watch it. I don't have I haven't heard
Thank
anything.
God, you reminded me that was coming out this year.
Yeah.
I was like, is this the last of Star Wars for this year? Because I need my palate cleansed. It's like I need a good steak. You know what I mean? I needed something else.
Yeah.
Now,
So I'm hoping
do I
it's
know that's
good.
gonna be good? I
Right.
don't know.
I don't
hope
know,
it's
right.
good. It could be if that's bad too. Oh, but can they afford two absolute horse poops back to back?
I don't know, man.
Because Star Wars
I
is
mean,
not dead.
I
but
still
that,
stand my.
that could be bad.
I don't know. if this show, like there was already numbers out there. I think there was a 19% drop.
Ahsoka had more viewers long term than
Right,
this one.
right. Um, if this show gets to the point where just like people stop watching it, and and it sets alarm bells off in over at the studios.
They spent $20 million on this episode, Obed. Overall, the
That's
budget
what I was gonna say, dude. That's what I was.
on this thing is 10 million less
It's
than Dune 2.
it's $180 million, dude, and you could not even get to Godzilla's claw nail,
There,
like
there
ankle,
is
dude.
world
Like from
hunger
minus
out
one,
there.
dude.
There is issues. I love entertainment. I love all
Bro,
this kind of stuff. What is going on?
who's getting paid this kind of money? It's like, but then you get like freaking masterpiece like minus one, dude. It's insane.
I don't
I
know.
told you. I've been telling you, man. It's like, and I know that I get a lot of hate because I'm saying that actors are overpaid, like especially in Hollywood. But bro, when you get a movie that's like $10 to $15 million, like minus one, and it's an absolute masterpiece, and then you have trash like this, and they're spending, 20 times the budget. It's ridiculous, man. I know we've gone long, but we might as well just make this the Star Wars rant episode, dude. Like
It's
screw
a
it.
passionate rant. We
Right.
love this property. I don't think we would have taken this much time to talk about something that we just felt mediocre about.
No,
We
no,
wouldn't do
no,
it.
totally, totally. Yeah. And we have other topics planned, but it's like we gotta let it out, right? We gotta let off some steam. It's like because we've been holding back for so long because
So long.
we don't want to be that kind of
No, no,
channel
no,
that
no.
people go to is like, oh, they're trashing Star Wars, let's go ahead and watch it. It's like we want to be objective about this, and it's like
I,
if it's good, I like again they throw the woke word out there. Like I don't care if you want to make your point across. I don't care about that.
I was gonna say, I was gonna
Write
chime in on
it
that.
good.
Exactly. I was going to chime in on that because there are people who are like, don't force your politics on me. Well, to be fair, and I can even say this, Star Wars has always been political. It
Right,
was about
right.
like taxes and like the prequels when it starts off. And then like you start talking about
The
obviously the
Senate.
Republic and democracy and the
Right,
Senate and Congress and like all like there is absolute politics involved,
right.
but it's done in a tasteful fantasy way that doesn't make you start thinking about who's in office today necessarily, but just like it, there's somewhat of a structure of it that you go, it's like where we say art imitates the real world, and that's I'm okay with that. This is clearly like lit when I don't say this lightly. I don't think I've ever like on the show just like started to accuse stuff of this. This is like clearly like we have an intentional agenda that we'll put that before the story. Like we don't care about the
Right.
story. My agenda is to make sure that I check X, Y, and Z to make sure that this makes me happy before I make the Star
So
Wars story that needs to be told, which is why I don't take it as Star
and
Wars right now.
again, that's why I think Andor did it brilliantly
Oh yeah.
because like, again, right? There was a couple in Andor, and the way that it was done was great. But because again, the writing comes first, you have to be sure, and you have to be able to write these characters in a way like you can't. It cannot be gratuitous, right? It has to be written in a way that yeah, the point comes across, right? But at the same
But they
time, you have to build these characters,
but they exposed it like how you said when their interviews before the show even comes out and they're
right?
like, "Hey, we want to make people angry.
Right.
Star
It's
Wars
ridiculous.
is blank. Fill in the blank. You can take that as it is. You know, Star Wars is not for one sector of people. Star Wars is something that is a worldwide. This isn't an American show. This isn't a UK show. This isn't like a Korean show. This is a show that is there are Star Wars fans around the world, around the galaxy, however you want to say it in that way. There are fans that are passionate about this for very specific reasons. Um, I saw like even like one of the clips from how Headland said at Celebration. She said, "Hey, Star Wars saved my life." That's a very strong statement to say. And then she continues on to say, like later on, jumping through different sound bites, but later on, going to say, "Well, if you don't like if you don't like the show, it's whatever, no big deal." You're like, so you're the same person saying like, "Oh, I love this thing, Star Wars saved my life," but then it's like, "I don't care if you like this show. Like, I don't want to make it that I care about these people." It's not the sentiment you want. You can't please everybody. There's no there are if people act like they love all these Star Wars films and they never had an issue. I remember the
Yeah.
prequels. The
Oh,
Gungans and
I
Jar
was
Jar
there,
Binks was
bro.
cringe.
I
You were
was
there.
there. I
And
was there.
people were like,
Yeah.
"I'm offended by the Gungans," and they were like, and this is not my Star Wars and all this kind of stuff. But you still get a story, you still get Duel of the Fates, you still get all this
Right.
kind of other stuff. There's I'm looking for redeeming characteristics, and that's the reason why I'm not sure if I'll continue on or not. Because right now I'm like, is there anything that I can hold out to redeem? And if there is nothing redeeming it, am I just gonna feel absolutely just sucker punched by this show? Because it felt like a hit in the gut. I was almost numb watching this. Many have said it was boring, the most boring thing they've seen. I'm aware of people who fell asleep watching this, literally snoring. Like this is the kind of thing that it's just not good. Like take Star Wars out of the equation, it's just not good.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's you're gonna get people out there defending the indefensible, and again, I I'm not gonna watch it, and I had enough with the clip that I watched, and I was like, you know what, this looks bad, this looks real bad, and I'm good. Oh no, I'm just gonna, it's not for me, and whatever, right? I'll find out how it is as it progresses, but again, I'm not gonna click on it.
The,
I'm not gonna go out of my way watch it. You know, I'm not gonna give it the view right
Good. And I
on
think
the
a
app,
lot more
right?
people might do that. This thing might drop significantly, and that's how messages are sent. Um, but like, yeah, I feel like this is gonna be like a Groundhog's Day type episode because I there we saw one of the twins' perspectives towards the end. I think they're gonna go back and revisit and show what really happened from the other. I'm like, I don't want to see this again. I don't want to go back to this again. I want to leave this behind me.
Yeah,
I was okay episode one when we were just dealing with a trial, and even that there was things that I was missing, but I was trying to overlook it. But I can't overlook when something's just absolutely not doing. I Obed, the things that they were doing in here, especially it involves children and this, whatever. I should have felt like an emotional attachment where I would have been like, I don't want to see these characters go through this. But dude, I sound like it sounds like a horrible person saying this. I really didn't care. I just like just get us out of here. Like get us out of this whole situation. I don't want this. I don't like it. I know I've ranted for a long time saying a lot of
yeah.
things about,
No, we're good.
but
This is the
this is
rant
what it is.
episode. We needed it. We needed to get this all out, and
But it's gonna be like She-Hulk. Like how
yeah,
that's why our title of this episode is because She-Hulk has been like the pinnacle where we said, hey, you spent so much money and you went nowhere and it's absolutely horrendous and literally cost people jobs and industries. Like Star Wars, I think this is the She-Hulk moment with this. If this show continues on where it doesn't accomplish anything narratively and it continues to just, I think if they did this, how much more are they going to poke out at the lore of Star Wars? This might be the She-Hulk moment where people are like, yeah, remember, even if there could be some great Star Wars stuff coming out.
right.
Dave's gonna make another movie. James Mangold is making a film. There's all other stuff coming out,
Right.
and they could be great. But we'll be like, do you remember when this thing happened, when the Acolyte happened?
Yeah. This turning, it could be a pivotal point for Star Wars, and I'm hoping that that it pivots for the best. Honestly, I and even if it's just okay, like just stop bashing the fans, man. We got you here. Why
Totally.
are you dunking on us?
Yeah.
Like we got you here, and this is how we're being repaid. Nah, bro. Like
No.
I can find more. Uh, I can find other properties that appreciate their fans in more meaningful ways than Star Wars for sure. Like there's other shows out there, there's games, and that you know well, behaving badly is one thing, right? But when fans criticize your work, because of how passionate they are. Why not listen, right?
Yep.
Why not listen? Um, I guess for closing, Joel, real quick, just to keep it Star Wars, we're gonna close it with a positive.
I like it. I
We're
like
close.
that.
Let's
Yeah.
close this with a positive.
Let's do that.
Ubisoft had their forward event, and they showed the extended gameplay segment for Star Wars Outlaws. Again, and we caught flack for a video we did a couple of months ago when this was revealed because people, oh, it's trash Star Wars or whatever, right? But the usual suspects, right? I think this looks good.
I agree.
I think this looks good. The world seem the I guess worlds seem flesh out. I wasn't expecting you to be able to pilot the ship and land seamlessly. Um, and the level of exploration, has action, stealth, the usual Ubisoft formula, right? But in Star Wars, and I think that it looks great, man. So if there's a silver lining, is that there it seems like there again. I haven't played it, but it seems like this would be a good game.
Right.
And utilizing the Star Wars property properly, and I'm hoping that it's good. I really do hope that this game, despite the criticism that is received because of the pricing, and right again rightfully so, I hope it does well. I hope it's a good game. So again, from what we saw on the show, it looks great. But what do you think?
Yeah, I everything that I saw from it made me very excited, looking forward to the game even more. I saw like even one of the statements that was made was how the Empire is kind of like the police in Grand Theft Auto, and like they're tracking. It's called Star Wars Outlaws. Like that's what I want. I want to feel, and that's also something they did kind of in Assassin's Creed 2, right? Like the heightened level of like, oh, we
Right,
recognize that you're doing something a little mischievous. Hold on, you stop over there. If you were in Star Wars and you were an outlaw, that's exactly what would happen. So being able to kind of show like you are an outlaw on the run and forcing that into the narrative and into the gameplay is super cool.
yeah,
We talked before about the locations that you're able to travel to. Sounds really fun. I'm hopeful that so long as it has a good launch and is not buggy, and it
right.
also said it's a good amount of hours too of gameplay too. I forget what the gameplay hours was I saw on it for someone to complete it, but it's a good run through. I don't know. All the news I'm hearing from it so far sounds good. I have a positive inclination towards it. And I look forward to playing it. It's a game I want to play. And I'm not just saying this because I was at Comic Con when they had their announcement reveal, whatever. Like from then, I felt positive about it, and now we're actually seeing gameplay, seeing this stuff. It's almost about launch time, and they continue to stay on a trend. So until that trend goes otherwise, I have no reason to believe that not to be good.
Right. No, yeah, same thing. Uh, what I saw, I liked,
Yeah.
and again, Star Wars is not dead.
No.
It's just going through some stuff right now. But I'm sure it's gonna recover.
Star
It's
Wars is always about hope.
it's
I,
just going through a rough spot.
yeah.
Star Wars, and unfortunately, we'll make it. Like I don't again. I'm old school. I was there episode one when I went and watched episode one the first time, and I remember I watched it with my cousin, and my cousin was like, "Yo, so what do you think?" Because he loved it, and when I looked at him and said, "Return of the Jedi is better," he's like, "No, no way." It's like, "Yeah, dude." And then
You knew.
I started pointing out the problems with it, and then it's like, "Oh, yeah, I didn't see it like that, but now you're right." And yeah, I mean, we went through that, and we recovered, and everyone hated the prequels. Everyone loves the prequels now. And again, I said it before. The same thing is going to happen to the sequels. It's going to get to the point where, a younger generation are going to discover these movies and they're going to love it. And but when if the problem is that, again, um, it it's it's all about the quality, right? Um, when the prequels happened, they spared no expense, and George wrote them, and that was George's thing, and he put his money on the line, and he did his thing, right? Um, but again, the problem that I have is you don't come in and say, "Oh, the person that came up with this thing has no idea what he's talking about," and the fans have no, like, the fans just don't like it because they're this and that, and no, don't disrespect me, right? I'm not here to disrespect you. I'm here to consume your product, but then you're disrespecting me before your product's even out.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna participate, and that's
Yeah.
it. That was my thing, right? And I stand by it, and I'll still stand by it now more than ever, because now I have the affirmation that I was right about it,
Oh yeah.
and
Very right.
you know it's unfortunate, but I am looking forward to Outlaws. I'm looking forward to Skeleton Crew, and Star Wars
Yeah.
is not dead. It's just going through a rough spot, and we'll make it. We'll make it out.
Well said.
I guess we can close it out, man.
Yeah,
We'll
sure.
talk gaming next week when we stream Streets of Rage
Oh yeah,
4,
yeah,
right?
that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Streets of
that's
Rage
right.
4. Let's go
Future
for
Rage
next
Forward.
week.
So stay with us next week, everyone. Stay tuned. Stay subscribed to No Load Time. We're on podcast platforms of your choice: Spotify, Amazon Music, SoundCloud. Find us, subscribe to us. You can watch us on our video version, No Load Time, on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And like Obed said, we'll be broadcasting live next week some gameplay of us just having a fun hangout, let's play kind of session, where we're going to be just playing some multiplayer, Streets of Rage 4, and we'll probably talk about some of like the Xbox events, some of the other different news that's been coming around in the world of gaming next week. So make sure you stay tuned, stay subscribed, make sure you have our YouTube channel notifications on for new videos and live streams. Also, you can follow us on social media at No Load Time, Facebook Threads, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch. We are on Twitch, No Load Times, No Load Time altogether. Additionally, you can also support the show on Patreon. So this helps us to continue to make episodes and to grow the show and do more for our show. There's many plans and concepts that we've thrown around, but we need the funds to do it. And so you are asking for you kindly consider helping. So that'd be patreon.com/no load time. It's patreon.com/no load time. And you can support us with as little as $1 a month. Literally just $1 a month. This is one of the first tiers. There's others and other incentives with it. But yeah, if you would consider supporting us, it'd be greatly appreciated. And last but not least, if you have a question, comment, or feedback, we'd love to hear from you. You can send an email to noloadtime@gmail.com. That's noloadtime@gmail.com. And possibly we'll even talk about what you send in on a future episode. Thank you all so much. We look forward to being with you next time.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe. We'll see you again next time. May the force be with you.
Always.